It's kind of crazy, how good misinformation is getting.
Yeah.
Like, it's one thing to spot, you know,
Hmm.
a bad Photoshop job.
Right.
But what about when it's a real picture
Yeah.
being used to tell like a totally fake story?
Oh,
And that's
yeah.
kind of what you were curious about, right? Like
That's right.
how AI can help us like decode the truth, especially in the news.
Exactly. Yeah.
So for this deep dive, we're looking at this research paper
Okay.
about a system called MAD-Sherlock.
Okay.
And it's using AI in this really unique way to like catch this kind of visual trickery.
Yeah, it is.
So I guess traditional AI systems are looking for like,
Mm-hmm.
manipulated images, deepfakes, things like that.
That's right. Yeah.
But Sherlock is different.
It is different.
It's about understanding context.
Exactly.
So it's not just like if the pixels have been altered.
Right.
It's how is the image being used.
That's right. Precisely.
And that's what makes it so hard, right?
But it is.
Because the image itself
Mm.
could be authentic,
Absolutely.
but the way it's like presented,
Right.
like with text or
Yeah.
whatever, the situation,
Mm-hmm.
it can just create this totally false narrative.
Exactly. Yeah.
It's like, I remember seeing this photo online a while back.
Uh-huh.
It was like, tons of people in the streets,
Okay.
looked super chaotic.
Yeah.
And the caption was like, this is a riot breaking out because of,
Mm.
whatever the current event was at the time.
Right.
But it turned out it was actually a photo
Oh, wow.
from like years earlier, a totally different event,
Oh, wow.
some big celebration.
Huh.
So same photo, total different story.
That's wild.
Yeah, so that's exactly what we're talking about here, right?
Yeah, that's a perfect example of how an image can be real,
Mm-hmm.
but totally misused out of context. Yeah.
To like totally mislead people.
Exactly.
Yeah, and that's what Sherlock is designed to catch.
That's what it's all about. Yeah.
So how does it actually do that? How can AI figure out something as complex as context?
Yeah, it's really interesting,
Well,
like just Googling so.
It uses multiple AI agents
Okay.
that engage in a debate
Right.
to figure out if an image is being used deceptively or not.
A debate. Like,
Yeah.
are there
Yeah.
tiny AI lawyers arguing in a digital courtroom?
You can think of it that way.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a fun way to visualize it, but it's not just any debate.
Uh-huh.
The researchers found that this specific structure,
Okay.
called asynchronous debate, works the best.
What is that?
So essentially, the AI is tricked into thinking
Uh-huh.
that it's debating a human,
Oh, okay.
which encourages it to be more thorough and more nuanced.
So it's like it gets more into it?
Yeah, it really gets invested.
Oh, that's really clever.
Yeah.
But even then, wouldn't it just be limited
Oh,
to whatever image and text it's given?
that's where things get even more interesting
Okay.
because it doesn't just sit there passively.
It actually goes out and gathers additional information.
So it does its own research, like a digital detective or something.
Exactly. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
It uses the Bing Visual Search API
Oh, yeah.
to perform a reverse image search to find other instances of that same image online.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And then it looks at where those images appear.
So it's not just looking at the image by itself.
Right.
It's seeing how it's being used in different places across the web.
Exactly. Yeah.
Wow.
Different contexts.
Wow.
So news articles, social media posts, blogs, all that.
So it pulls all that information,
Mm-hmm.
and then how does it make sense of it all?
Well, to help make sense of all of that,
Mm-hmm.
it uses another really powerful AI tool,
Okay.
a language model called Llama 13B.
Okay.
And this model summarizes the information from all of those pages
Oh,
and gives the AI agents even more context.
so it's like this whole team
It is, yeah.
of AI detectives,
Mm-hmm.
and each of them has their own specialty, and they're all working together to crack the case.
Yeah.
And that's where it gets the name, right? Maybe Sherlock, like a superpowered detective agency.
Exactly.
So it actually works.
Yeah,
Like they tested it,
they did.
and it actually outperformed other methods.
Significantly.
Okay, that's really impressive.
Yeah.
But even if it gets the right answer,
Mm-hmm.
how does it explain its reasoning to us?
That's a great point.
Like, I'm all for AI that can think.
Yeah.
But if I can't understand why it came to that conclusion,
Mm-hmm.
then I don't know if I can really trust it. I don't
Yeah.
want to just blindly trust it.
You're right.
So how does it show its work?
Right. Yeah, that's a great point. Transparency is really key when we're talking about AI, especially with something as important as misinformation.
Mm-hmm.
And that's another area where MAD-Sherlock really stands out.
Okay.
It doesn't just give you a yes or no answer. It provides a human-readable explanation
Oh, cool.
of its thought process.
So it's like it shows its work.
Exactly.
Like a student proving they didn't just copy off their neighbor.
Exactly, yeah.
Okay.
It lays out all the evidence that it found, the connections that it made, the logic that it followed.
So you can kind of follow along with it.
Yeah, and that's not just helpful for us to understand how it works.
Right.
It also builds trust
Oh, for sure.
in the conclusions, yeah.
Yeah, because it's one thing to be told, like, hey, this image is fishy.
Right.
But it's way more convincing if you can see why
Yeah, exactly.
the system came to that conclusion.
Yeah.
So how do we know that it actually helps people?
Well, they did a study, so
Right.
they wanted to see how this explainability feature would impact people's ability to spot misinformation themselves.
Okay.
So they did this really cool user study where they gave people a bunch of image-text pairs
Okay.
and asked them to judge whether or not they were being used misleadingly.
Okay.
And some of the participants got access to MAD-Sherlock's insights.
And others didn't.
Okay, so what happened? Like, did having the AI perspective make a difference?
It did. It really did.
Okay.
And this is where things get really interesting.
Okay.
All of the groups who had access to MAD-Sherlock's reasoning, whether they were journalists,
Oh, yeah.
AI experts, or just everyday people,
Yeah.
significantly improved their accuracy in spotting misinformation.
Wow, so it's like having this AI detective whispering clues in their ear,
It is, yeah.
helping them see things that they might have missed.
Yeah, exactly.
It's really cool.
And what was really striking was that the AI experts,
Okay.
after seeing MAD-Sherlock's explanations, were able to perform almost as well as the professional journalists.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's pretty powerful. That's like saying
It is.
even people who are really familiar with AI, maybe even a little skeptical of it,
Right.
they can still benefit from its insights.
Yeah, as long as it's presented.
When it's presented in a clear, understandable way. In a clearer way, exactly.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
It really points to the potential for a very collaborative relationship between humans and AI when it comes to tackling misinformation.
So it's not about, like, replacing human judgment.
Yo.
It's more about empowering it
Exactly.
with these tools and information that AI can provide.
Exactly.
And it's like we each bring our own strengths to the table.
That's right.
Right? Like the AI can do the heavy lifting, sifting through mountains of data,
Right.
spotting the patterns that we might miss. But then we humans can use our, critical thinking skills, our understanding of nuance and context
Right.
to make sense of it all and actually make decisions.
Yeah, exactly. It's a true partnership.
Yeah. So this is all super promising.
It is.
But are there any downsides? AI playing such a big role in this?
Yeah, I mean, that's a really important question.
Yeah, because, like, could it be used to, like, censor certain viewpoints, even if they're not, like,
Right.
technically false, just unpopular?
You're hitting on a really crucial point. Like any powerful technology, AI can be misused.
Right.
And that's why it's so important to have these conversations, to be aware of the potential risks.
Yeah.
And to develop safeguards to make sure that it's used responsibly.
So it's not enough to just, like, build these amazing systems.
That's not, no?
We also need to think critically about how they're used.
Yeah.
Who has access to them?
Exactly.
What kind of checks and balances are in place?
Yeah, all of that.
So again, it comes back to that partnership,
It does.
right? The AI can be this powerful ally in the fight against misinformation.
Absolutely.
But it's up to us humans to kind of steer the ship,
Right.
make sure it's used ethically and for the greater good.
I love that, steer the ship, yeah.
So this is all, like, super fascinating.
It is.
But I have to admit, it's also a little overwhelming.
Yeah.
Like, if AI is getting so good at creating misinformation and detecting it, will we ever be able to trust what we see online again?
That's a big question.
It is a big question.
A lot of people are struggling with that right now.
Yeah.
I think the key is to focus on what we can control,
Okay.
which is our own ability to be discerning consumers of information.
Okay, so basically, what does this mean for me?
Yeah.
Just trying to stay informed
Yeah.
and not get tricked by fake news or misleading images.
Right.
Like, what are some things I can actually do?
Yeah.
Okay, so basically, what does this mean for me?
Well.
Just trying to stay informed
Yeah.
and not get tricked by fake news or misleading images?
Yeah, good question.
What are some things I can actually do?
Yeah. So first and foremost, don't take anything at face value,
Okay.
especially when it comes to images online.
Right.
Just because it looks real doesn't mean it's being used honestly or accurately.
So even if it's a photograph,
Yeah.
not like a deep fake or something, it can still be part of a misleading story.
Absolutely. Remember, out of context doesn't always mean fake.
Right.
It just means that it's being used to tell a story that might not be the whole truth.
Right.
So always think about the source.
Oh.
Is it a reputable news organization, a known activist group, or just some random account on social media?
Yeah.
That context can make a big difference.
Yeah, it's like if I see some incredible photo on like a blog I've never heard of,
Right.
I probably shouldn't just accept it as fact.
Exactly.
Even if it looks convincing.
And don't stop there.
Okay.
You can do a little detective work yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Reverse image search is your best friend here.
Okay.
Use it to see where else that image pops up online.
Right.
Does the context match up? Are there different narratives being spun around the same picture?
Yeah.
This can really help you get a more complete picture of what's going on.
So basically channel my inner MAD-Sherlock.
Exactly.
Okay.
Be curious. Be a little skeptical. Don't be afraid to dig a little deeper.
Right.
And if something seems too good to be true or too outrageous to believe,
right,
it probably is.
Good advice for the internet in general.
Yeah.
But what about the bigger picture? If AI is getting so good at both creating and detecting misinformation,
right,
is it just going to be like this never-ending arms race?
Yeah.
Will we ever be able to trust what we see online again?
Well, that's the million-dollar question, isn't it?
Yeah.
The truth is the future of online information is a bit uncertain. AI is a powerful tool, and like any tool, it can be used for good or for bad.
Right.
But I believe that by understanding how this technology works, by sharpening our own critical thinking skills, and by demanding transparency from those who create and distribute information, we can navigate this new landscape. And we can come out the other side as more informed and discerning consumers of information.
So you're saying we can't just sit back and let things happen?
We can't.
We have to be active participants.
We do.
In shaping the future of information online.
Exactly. Yeah. The future of online information is not something that will just happen to us. It's something we actively shape through the choices we make, the questions we ask, and the actions we take.
It's easy to feel kind of helpless with all this stuff.
Yeah.
Ultimately, we have more power than we think.
I think so, too.
Okay.
Yeah, and the more we know about how these systems work, the more empowered we are to make informed decisions about the information we consume and share.
I think that's a great point.
Yeah.
And a fantastic note to wrap up on. So
I agree.
Thanks for taking us on this deep dive.
Of course, my pleasure.
Into the world of AI and misinformation.
Absolutely.
It's given me a lot to think about.
Good, good. So remember, stay curious.
Yes.
Stay critical. And never stop questioning what you see online.
Great advice.